feeling good about myself, looking good. It gave me everything, and it helped me to deal with anxiety because, well, a lot of times we're stress eaters and we eat when we are streaked out. We
Mhm.
eating cookies, we eating all that kinds of stuff that is actually not good for us. And being on a plan has definitely helped me to control these emotions more and not go to food, but to say, okay, what am I feeling right now? And or not having insulin drops, because a lot of times when we have these spikes, insulin spikes, it's because of the food. And then we get depressed or we overthink or whatever it is. So for me, eating and having a plan definitely was a game changer for me.
Fans, welcome to another episode of the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Our guest today, to be frank, her PR agent reached out and I was like, ooh, this is a different type of guest because she is famous, Hollywood famous. She's Hollywood famous, but she is an athlete. But her roles in Hollywood have been based on, having a certain physique, athletic physique. And so you'll hear in this episode her journey from truly being a child athlete and loving sport to then getting into Hollywood. And her passion for fitness runs deeper than just aesthetics and how she looks and how other people look. And yet, there's a need for that in Hollywood for good or better or worse, however you want to say it. Certain Hollywood actors are trying to achieve a certain look for a role. And she, as a trainer and a nutrition expert, has done that herself and provided that service to other Hollywood and A-listers, so they say. But she's also so passionate about the everyday person and using nutrition and fitness for health and longevity. And as a woman who's gone through menopause herself and, values fitness as you're aging, she has a special message to share about that as well. So we talk about nutrition as it relates to health and longevity and aging. We talk about nutrition as it relates to athletes and also as it might relate to, A-listers in Hollywood and things that they're doing with their diet. A couple topics come up here about performance enhancing drugs and, I'll let you listen to that part of the episode, but, just knowing that this is an athlete focused podcast where some of our listeners are abiding by sport regulations, world anti-doping agencies, or NCAA rules and regulations. We're here to promote that competing athletes in sports are clean athletes, that we are not using any performance enhancing drugs, but the topic comes up as it relates to Hollywood. And so that's an interesting part of the conversation. I'll let you listen in. So, yes, enjoy this conversation. Fans, listeners, thank you so much for joining me on another episode. Today, I'm here with a guest, Kerstin Schulze. She is a powerhouse in entertainment and wellness. She brings energy, humor, and authenticity to every role she plays, both on and off screen. Originally from Germany, Kirsten's journey begins with a silver medal at the Junior Olympics in Berlin in the heptathlon. From there, she pursued her love for performance with formal theater training and a business degree before making her way to Los Angeles. Her acting career includes standout roles in American Horror Story like Roanoke, Flaked, and the family feature Rescue Dogs. She has also worked alongside industry icons like Tina Fey, John Goodman, Amy Schumer, and Kathy Bates, showcasing her comedic timing and ability to tackle diverse characters with ease. Off screen, Kirsten is a trailblazer in the wellness world. Over 24 years ago, she founded Party and Diet, elite personal training and innovative fitness company that specializes in short, effective workouts tailored to busy professionals, A-list actors, and even pro athletes. Her holistic, longevity focused approach prioritizes sustainable health and wellness, an ethos that resonates deeply with women navigating the physical and emotional changes of midlife. Now in her early 50s, Kirsten brings a deeply personal perspective to the conversation around midlife transformation. As a perimenopausal woman and seasoned fitness expert, she understands the challenges of maintaining vitality, strength, and balance during this transitional stage in life. Through her work, Kirsten empowers women to embrace midlife with confidence, focusing on strategies that blend wellness, mindfulness, and self compassion. Kirsten, I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Oh, thank you, Lindsay. I'm so happy to be here and to share some goods with the audience.
Mhm. And I'm definitely doing some fangirling because I shared with you off air that, I am so privileged to get to meet with some, high profile named people and athletes but I don't know that I've ever had a Hollywood star on this show before. Nor am I like I don't live in California. I don't know that I've ever really talked to somebody who's been on camera the way that you have. So, this is fun.
I like being the first.
Yeah. But what's so cool about you is that you have such a strong athletic background. I just read off in your bio that, you competed in the Junior Olympics in the heptathlon as a youth athlete. I would love to hear your story going way back to your childhood of, what sports meant to you growing up and, why you fell in love with fitness.
Great question. I fell in love with it and or why I seeked it out, it just felt good, really. I mean, I didn't think of, oh, I want to be an athlete. I just thought about it was offered at school. Track was my favorite, and I just always felt good. I loved being physical. And
Hmm.
it started really when I was younger, and that my household was not the calmest and not the most peaceful for me. So sports for me was really my go-to to feel good, to be around people that just want to have a good time, really.
Yeah.
And so I just had was lucky to have a really good coach and that I just enjoyed it. I mean, even when academics were canceled because the teacher wasn't there or whatever, and they said we have to do sports now, I was in heaven. I was like, "Yes, let's do it." And where other people was like, "Oh no, not sports." It just was always my go-to. And then I got the opportunity to run at the Olympics, the Junior Olympics in Berlin, and I was 1 point short of the gold medal, and it was just an experience that I
Wow.
will never ever forget. It just was my passion. It still has my passion, always has been there for me. And the reason people ask me all the time, why did you do it? And I said, it just feels good. And I was good
Yeah.
at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It feels good. And it's funny. I was already thinking, you said, you just wanted, as a kid, you just wanted to have a good time. And I was fast forwarding to your business many years later called Party and Diet, where it's like, we're just having a good time. We want to feel good. Right.
Yes.
Now, so that's amazing. You were good at it as well. And you got, silver medal in the Junior Olympics. But share with me kind of where in your life, like, a decision to continue pursuing athletics versus, "I wanna go to Hollywood, I wanna, try something totally different." I mean, was did you ever consider continuing athletics or the heptathlon, further, or was it just something you were ready to move on from?
No, I never thought about, "Oh, I wanna go to the continue and with the tracks." I mean, I still continue doing track workouts, and I lived in Jamaica and ran with the Olympic athletes in Jamaica as well, and
Wow.
so I always kept my track passion, and all the way till I was until now, I still do track workouts, but it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm setting the goal to be this track star." It was just something that and my parents couldn't afford a coach for me and anything like that. It was just in school, and then once I left school, that ended with that. And then
Yeah.
when I came here and I got the opportunity to be around Jamaican athletes at the time, a friend of mine was Bertling Cameron. He was once the fastest man in the world. And I went with them to Jamaica and I ran and trained with them. And it was an amazing experience but I did not continue with it, but I was always very competitive, like, I did competitive kayaking, went down waterfalls, raging rivers, I did volleyball competitive, I did speed skating competitive,
Oh
so
my
I was
goodness.
always yeah, seeking for that thrill of
Yeah.
exercise and fitness, and I tried it all, but it was never for me where I was like, "Oh, I wanna be a pro athlete at this."
Yeah.
The
I
competition was
think
just a side effect, basically.
Yeah, yeah. But I think this is an important message to share for any young listeners because as a dietitian, I do work with a lot of clients that are maybe in high school or college and they're pursuing athletics and they really struggle with like, what am I going to do after all this? Their
Mhm.
identity is really held in being an athlete, or as we're in high school, we have big dreams and ambitions.
Mhm.
But there's so much that identifying as an athlete can open so many doors for you, even if it's not landing a professional sponsorship. It's just these life experiences you just mentioned, or, even in Hollywood, which we'll get to in a moment, landing roles that your experience and fitness and being an athlete have helped with. And now, it's a career for you as well. So that's a message I like to share with some of my clients who are kind of battling, like, am I going to make it onto a college team, or what happens after college, is even if your job title isn't Olympian or sponsored athlete, you are still an athlete that can open up so many doors for you in your life experiences and career in the same way that
Oh,
yours has.
absolutely. My athletic background has helped me immensely to maneuver through life and be disciplined, be focused, being able to take a loss as a win because you learn about yourself, to learn what is nurturing my body means, and I learned all that by being an athlete. Where if it just gave me such a foundation. And
Mm.
in my teenage years, I was developing a eating disorder, and
Oh,
by then competing and getting on stage and doing competitions, I learned how more about food intake because I knew how to run, I knew all these things, but nobody taught me how to eat. This was 30 years ago. Nobody taught me how to eat
right.
to be a great athlete. And then in my when I was 17, I wanted to do an internship as a physical therapist, and the physical therapist there taught me about bodybuilding because I was supposed to have a surgery on my left knee from all the high performance stuff that I did.
Mhm.
And I developed an imbalance. As athletes, we have to always be careful that we're not overcompensating one side more than the other. And she told me to do bodybuilding. That was the first time I stepped into a gym and realized if I do certain functional strength training or certain exercise, I can balance out my strength in my legs, and with that,
Yeah.
I never had to have surgery. So I think having
Wow.
a combination of how to work out and having that athletic background has immensely helped me to maneuver through life.
Wow. So you just shared some information I didn't know about your story, that being an athlete and as a teenager, like a little bit of an eating disorder developed. And so you had to learn how to fuel. Was it I wanna know a little bit more about that process for you, and yeah, it sounds like going to physical therapy, knowing stepping into the gym, like, "Oh, I can actually take care of my body better. This isn't just, a given talent, oh, I happen to be good at track, but there's actually things that I can do to take care of my body." And I know you already mentioned, this was 30 years ago, so maybe our nutrition information was different at the time, but do you think that that experience for you kind of shaped your mindset around food and viewing it as something that can help you? Do you mind diving into that a little bit more?
Yeah, gladly. What really happened for me was that the social norm, everybody was so skinny back then. And I was an athlete. I always had an athletic body. And I felt like that I needed to be smaller. And so eating to me became this thing of stress relief first. And also this poison, well, if I eat too much, I get too big, right?
Mm.
And when I started doing bodybuilding, it taught me how I can actually nurture my body the right way and still be a certain size, but an athletic size,
A healthy
a
size,
healthy size.
functional, yeah.
Strong, feeling good about myself, looking good, it gave me everything, and it helped me to deal with anxiety because, well, a lot of times we're stress eaters, and we eat when we are streaked out. We
Mhm.
eating cookies, we eating all that kinds of stuff that is actually not good for us, and being on a plan has definitely helped me to control these emotions more and not go to food, but to say, okay, what am I feeling right now? And or not having insulin drops, because a lot of times when we have these spikes, insulin spikes, it's because of the food. And then we get depressed or we overthink or whatever it is. So for me, eating and having a plan definitely was a game changer for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that it's it's powerful when you realize that food is here to help you be your strongest version instead of just that old school mindset, calling it old school, although people still have it now. But it was definitely very prevalent, in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s of just this idea of like skinnier is better or less food will get you skinnier. And that's not necessarily true. We need food to nourish our bodies. And you were able to spin that in a way of, oh, I can use food to my advantage to be strong, to be fit. And I worked with you. And having a plan helped you manage those emotions and anxiety around food and body. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
had a better I had a better body eating 3 to 5 4 times a day than starving myself.
Mhm.
Or not, or just eating 1 meal a day, and just my body was just functioning way, way better. And I have clients that come to me and they say, I only eat once a day. I work out 3 hours a day and I don't lose any weight. I'm like, whoa, you are out of balance here. And that's what I always teach. Where's your balance? Your food is supposed to nourish your muscles and
Mhm.
your functionality and your brain. And are you feeding it or are you stressing it? And that's when somebody tells me they only eat once a day and work out 3 hours a day, then that means their body is going into severe stress mode because all the body knows is to survive. And if we stressing it that much, it will slow down everything. It will shut down to survive.
Mhm.
And feeding the body 3 times a day will give it way more nourishment, energy, and sustainability. It won't
Mhm.
shut down.
Yeah. Do you, in your experience working in Hollywood, and now I imagine many of your clients over the years have come from, that acting background as well, or being on screen. Do they does that community of people struggle with those beliefs about nutrition, of that like, only eating one meal a day or something is the right thing? Do you feel like you're constantly fighting against that?
When people come to me, like Chris Hemsworth came to me when he just booked the role Thor, and
Ugh.
he wanted nutritional advice and supplements, and we gave him a whole plan. I was married at the time, and
Mhm.
we helped him to get started. But people in the industry have a bigger crunch time. So
Yeah.
there is definitely more pressure on them to look a certain way, and they will go to other supplements that you can't get over the counter, right? To
Yeah.
enhance themselves. And I think it's definitely an not the healthiest way, but they're getting paid for this, so they have to
Yeah.
perform. I got Nicole Parker ready for Broadway, and she definitely has a different pressure
Wow.
behind it that
Mhm.
she needed to look a certain way, and we had to do it within 3 to 4 months. So
Yeah.
they had to withhold more calories to get there faster, where if I have a regular person,
Mhm.
business owner or just a parent or a child or teenager come to me, we say, "Okay, realistically, how much time do we have? What's the goal?" And that's how we implement the nutritional part, the workouts, and all of that. How much can you really commit? And,
Yeah.
a lot of times those are you have way more time to achieve those. So the pressure
Thank
cooker is
you.
differently.
Yeah, it does. And I think I just want to thank you for sharing that, because I think as an everyday person who sees our idols on the TV screen, we're thinking, how do they look that way and stuff? And I think just kind of recognizing that maybe they are going to some extremes because that's their job and they're getting paid for this. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the healthiest thing. And to recognize, okay, what's gonna be healthy for me? I don't have to look like that person. They did that for a certain role. But, like, hearing from you, like, okay, we're you're providing the service to them that they need for their job, but that isn't necessarily what you would recommend to somebody else for true health and wellness or longevity. And I'm sure that you guide those actors and actresses as well in that advice afterwards, when they're all said and done with that role. But I think it's a good reminder for the everyday person that, yeah, what you see on the screen isn't necessarily always the picture of health
Yeah. I
or
mean,
how
there's
they
certain
got there.
that's so true. It's not sustainable to go that drastic. Like when I got Robert Patrick ready for Gangster Squad and I had to make him look really rugged and he wanted to lean
Mhm.
out really fast and he had quite a bit to lose, but he did it. But it was a very boring strict diet that was very low carb, and that's not
Mhm.
sustainable for a long
Mm-mm.
period of time. But if you have to do it for 3 months or 6 weeks, you can do it. And I teach my
Yeah.
clients that there's certain tricks you can do if you have an event coming up, how you can dial in, or I
Mhm.
also helped my son to get ready for college. He had a full ride scholarship playing football, and I helped
Wow.
him with his nutrition, and I helped him with his speed drills, and we did stand drills and all of that stuff because it's really good for his ankles. And we
Yeah.
yeah, long story short, I mean, it's not as healthy as we would when I have a day-to-day, nutrition plan,
Yes.
right? Because you can now have other things. But, we also have more time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, so I've worked with a lot of female athletes who struggle with disordered eating and body image. And so a lot of my work, I end up trying to get them to a place where we're eating good consistently. Like you said, that 3 to 5 meals a day, nourishing your body, doing the workouts that feel good, and just making this sustainable and truly healthy. And then but then, sometimes I get some pushback from those clients. Well, how come so and so did this diet or went to an extreme and like that's healthy for them? And one of the key things that I'm hearing you say is it's for a short period of time. They
Mhm.
do this for 4 to 6 weeks or 3 months. It's a short period of time. It's to obtain a goal, get the job done. And I think that's we can even in athletes, taking a step away from Hollywood, but thinking about athletes, that's a lot of athletes might, eat a certain way in their off season. Then when it's in season and, we're gearing up for a championship, we tailor the diet because we're trying to hit some specific targets. And you can use that discipline for a certain period of time to get through it and help you reach your goal. But that is different than the everyday wellness approach a little bit.
Absolutely. So I just had, and this brings me thought for me here is that I just had somebody reach out to me, a parent reach out
Hmm.
and wanting to know if their child, who is 16, he's an athlete, should go on enhancement drugs, right? Like a certain enhancement drug, whatever it is, like a steroid, basically.
Yeah, steroid.
And
Yes.
I'm definitely against anybody that is a teenager to go on steroids is because the body is still developing.
Yeah.
I think your bones, your joints, your everything is still growing, and you want to build your muscle base naturally. And then
Mhm,
when you're 25 and you are fully developed, I would say wait till you're 25. And
mhm,
if you wanna do some enhancement then, you can dabble into that, and it's for everybody their own decision, but I just don't think it's healthy, and really,
yeah,
it's all about how you eat. And my
mhm,
son, for instance, had to eat a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to put on size,
yeah,
and those really, really work. I mean, it will swell you up. You have good fats in it, you have carbs, and what do we need
mhm,
carbs for? We need carbs to get big, right? To grow.
mhm,
So, as an athlete should never ever be on a low carb diet anyway, because we need the carbs for energy. We need potatoes, we need rice, we need, oatmeal. I mean, when I was a high performance athlete, I didn't cut my carbs. Now, when I started being on stage or being in magazines or having a role, like when I did the Tina Fey one, I had to be really leaned out because I was playing buff Tina Fey, and
mhm,
I had to really dial in, so I go really low carb. But I personally never have taken any drugs to enhance myself. I always have done it with nutrition and eating the right way and training. So I highly, highly recommend for anybody that's listening to not go there and to really do it with food and build yourself a strong base naturally.
mhm. Yeah, because when you have that strong base naturally, you can't you have the health and foundation that you can do things for a certain amount of time. Like you said, okay, I'll go low carb for this Tina Fey roll, for a certain amount of time to obtain a look. But then I know, like, but I still have my foundation of health and wellness to where this isn't going to hurt me and I can do it. And then, when the roll is done, I can go back to eating some potatoes and rice. And because I have my
Absolutely.
strong foundation, I haven't ruined my metabolism, I haven't hurt myself. And yes, and I think too, going back to like the athlete versus what we see on screen, if you are truly a collegiate athlete, a high performing athlete, professional athlete, we can't take those performance enhancing drugs, or maybe somebody on screen can. And that's the difference between somebody playing the role of an athlete versus somebody actually competing as the athlete, right? And I think sometimes that actually does get screwed up with minds think like, oh, but I don't look like an athlete because we're looking at the Hollywood athletes, but they're not the ones performing, in that moment. Maybe they're still athletes in how they train their bodies. But do you get what I'm saying here with the difference?
Absolutely.
The rules
I
of the
mean,
game here. Yeah.
yeah, when I was working with Gronkowski, I mean, he still trains like an athlete, eats like an
Mhm.
athlete. He might not be as big anymore like he used to when he was playing because he's
Yeah.
retired, but still works out. He still and he does a lot of TV stuff, but he's
Mhm.
not under this time pressure cooker that, I mean, even people in the NFL, there's a lot of pressure on them. This is a full-time job,
Oh, yeah.
and their recovery time has to be so much faster than you have in high school.
Yeah. Because they're playing all the time, long seasons, every day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. And that's where the nutrition talk about too, the nutrition piece of like making sure that you are eating well enough to recover and getting all those anti-inflammatory nutrients in, enough protein for recovery. It's a daily grind on the body.
Absolutely. And I say anybody that wants to take any supplement, you gotta have glutamine in your diet, you gotta have BCAAs in there, you need to have creatine in there, because these are all things that at any age will help you.
Mhm. Yeah, and speaking to creatine specifically, and this, we're gonna dive into some of your specialty with aging and working with women as well. But there's a big push right now on the research with creatine and women's health, and even beyond. Just like we used to think, just creatine was for building muscle, which it's definitely effective at. But I was reading the other day about the benefits of creatine for the brain, especially if somebody is potentially like a little bit sleep deprived. That creatine can really help the brain function better when in a sleep deprived state. And I'm just thinking about all these busy professionals, women athletes. I'm a mom athletes. So I'm sleep deprived. I'm thinking about athletes who are traveling and might be experiencing some jet lag or things like that. And so I think creatine, I'll have to do a whole deep dive episode on creatine soon, but with all the benefits beyond just muscle building that we're
Oh, it's
finding.
so good for you. You take it every day. You
Mhm.
don't just take it when you're working out. You wanna take creatine every day. You wanna take glutamine every day. These are aminos, and these are things that are nourishing our body cells, and our body cells is not just our muscles. It's our intestines, it's our colon, it's our brain, like you said. It is our vision. It's all of these things that we need to still nourish, right? And we get a lot from food, but we also need to supplement what we don't get from food anymore.
Mhm, mhm. Well, and a big reason why so many people aren't getting what they need from food is because they're so confused about how to eat and what to eat. Which is like people really, like you said, some of your clients come to you eating one meal a day. There's no way they're getting everything they need with only one
Mhm.
meal a day. So,
Absolutely, yeah, and I always say if you can't eat it, drink it, it's easier to drink a shake than if you're like, say, a lot of my clients have time pressure and they're
mhm,
traveling a lot, so a shake is always the easiest to travel with and to have, and even the athletes, after your workouts, you
mhm,
should have a shake ready to feed your muscles the fastest, and then you can have a meal later.
mhm. I'm a huge fan of I call it liquid nutrition. um, but because that's another message that people get confused about. Oh, you shouldn't drink your calories. But I'm like, no, this is such an effective, efficient way to get some extra nutrients in. If you're busy, if you're on the go, if you're just not hungry, if you're not good at cooking, whatever it might be, a shake can definitely make things convenient and easy. And then when it comes to what you're talking about too, of like adding in some glutamine powder or creatine powder, amino acids, you can mix that in very easily. So
Yes.
I do a protein shake almost once a day, and it varies. Sometimes it's just protein, creatine, and water, but sometimes it's, blended with the milk or a banana blended in there. So there's so many different things that it could look like, what this shake could be.
Yeah, my daughter was a
Mhm.
professional ballerina and she's 20, and even though she doesn't professionally dance anymore, she still dances and does ballet, but she's a very picky eater. And for me, I mean, she's a vegetarian. She does not like meat. So I always think about how can I get her protein in? And a shake is the best way. I put all her greens in there, her protein, all the things that she needs for the day. She has to have a shake a day, and I have it ready for her. So shakes are definitely a good way for teenagers that don't like to eat the healthy stuff to get it in, you know?
Yes, right. If I know we have to put it in air quotes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, we just want them to eat, a salad with some steak on it, but for some reason, whatever reason they're struggling with it, well, let's do our best with a shake that's got some greens and some amino acids in it. And I also will say, just since you brought up your daughter being a vegetarian, that is where I've definitely found like supplemental amino acid, branch chain amino acids, leucine to be really helpful in people who are following more of a plant based diet. Because sometimes, especially if you're pushing your body in athletics, it is difficult to get all the amino acids and proteins that will optimize your performance and health. And so I think that there's a big role for that if you're not eating meat. I think that's something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I've sneaked bone broth in her shakes just so she
Hmm.
gets a little bit of the right aminos, you know? 'Cause I
Yeah, some
believe we need it.
collagen even. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Okay,
yeah.
don't have her listen to this episode so we don't want her knowing that you sneak that into her shakes. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about, you've done so much in your career, but along with that is, giving people nutritional guidance, but also their actual exercise. You're a trainer. You train people and you've been doing this for a very long time. And then I think a little bit more recently, or correct me if I'm wrong, but you've created some programs that are specifically targeting people kind of in the 40 to 70 age category. And I just want to hear from you why you're so passionate about helping people in this age category train.
Relatable. People have approached me. I look at my clientele now, and really a lot of people in their 40s, 30s too, but in the 40s come to me and ask me for advice of they either have never worked out in their life, they were not athletes, and they want to learn, and or they're too busy, they don't have time. And it's just something that was presented to me, and I thought I need to make this more available for the rest of the world because not everybody can afford a coach, you know, and I get it. But how can I make it more feasible for people so they can use it? And I still have my track workouts on there as well, because I do believe no matter what age we are, that you need to train certain body parts or your body in general like an
Mhm,
athlete, because jumping is super important, running is super important, sprints. These things are good for our bone structure, for thicker bones, for ankle and joint flexibility and strength. So I highly recommend to all of my clients to do track workouts as well, or implement like little jumps and then walk, step it down. Obviously, we're altering those things to their abilities, because a lot of my clients also have injuries like shoulder injuries, neck injuries, lower back injuries, you know. And so I show them also that through functional strength training, you can actually help your injury to heal faster and build a stronger support around your joints.
mhm. Yeah, I have a track background as well. I'm just so familiar, and it really is some of the best conditioning for your body, no matter what sport or age, category you are. I was a sprinter, hurdler, and pole vaulter.
Wow.
Yeah, so I couldn't be a heptathlete because I never got into the throwing. But, I did the sprint hurdles and pole vault, so I have that conditioning style background, and then got into distance running in my 20s, so that was a lot of fun too, but I go back to when you just need a good workout. So much of what I learned just being a track athlete, I kinda just know how to do a workout, add some mobility in there, do some sprints, do some jumps, and it kind of checks all the boxes of just a total body good workout. So it seems with the age category 40 to 70, like you were mentioning, like if somebody has never really, because some people can go and they're youthful and they don't maybe need to work out if they don't have passion for it, but then those things might catch up to them. The, weaknesses, the instability, the loss of muscle. We start talking about people in their 70s and like the risk of falling and just breaking your wrist to then, oh, I can't drive a car, cook my meal, those are really, really interfere with life. So I think it's very important for this age category to take exercise very seriously as just a how to get through every day healthier and stronger. And it's I think when we're young, maybe exercise is, for you and me it was fun. For other people, it feels like a job, but I think as people get older, they realize the importance of it, of really what being strong really means,
Mm,
not having those
yeah.
injuries.
Strong, what does strong mean? I mean, if you think about it, we're sitting down, we're getting up. That's a squat. We're walking up a stairs. That's step ups. It's actually a daily that we need to be strong, and we can slow down aging by having more muscle. So working out is really your biggest tool to slow down aging. Your biggest tool to be mobile is working out and lifting weights,
Mm.
and I'm so happy that it's people are realizing it more and are saying, "Well, I have to do something." My oldest gentleman is 95 now, and
Wow.
he came to me at 93 and said he was losing his balance, he was hitting his head, so it was a life for his life for having a better
Real.
life, he needed to work out. So I started with him, and now he can do side shuffles, and he can do step ups, and he has his balance, and he's sharp, and so you're never, ever, ever too old to start
Mm-mm.
working out. And if it's intimidating, that's why I have a whole gym workout 16-week program that I used myself to transform my body, that
Mhm.
I have available on my site for people that are intimidated to go to the gym. And because what do you do at the gym? Yeah, stick with the machines first, and then but what are they doing and why and how should you move on the machine? And so I try to explain all these things for people to or for anybody that's interested in going to the gym because it can be intimidating and
Yeah.
how do you especially the free weights are really intimidating for women because it's the man area, and
Mm.
when you know how to maneuver in it, I think it's less intimidating to do
Yeah.
so, but I highly recommend to lift weights.
Yeah. And I think you're right that a lot of women are intimidated to go to that section of the gym because a lot of them just don't know what to do. And that's where I think programs like yours are teaching them, right? You have video program, you have like an app, you have videos to teach them what to do. Because I think that's huge. People are recognizing, okay, I need to strength train, I need more muscle, but it's like, how do I do that? Or I'm standing in the gym and I'm scared. I don't know if I'm doing this right. Are people looking at me? Whatever it might be. So I think that having a program like yours to guide them and teach them and give them that confidence, show them step by step what to do is really helpful.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you wanna have a coach and you want somebody to showcase you what you're doing because I need to take a look at it. I always say if you can get at least 1 hour with a coach and say, "Okay, give me a program and show me the exercise and show me how I'm maneuvering," that's the ideal, right? And
Yeah.
if you and then you need a program to show you, "Okay, this is what I should be doing when I'm traveling and when I don't have a gym or when I'm at the gym, this is what I can do and why you are doing it and what are you working on, what muscle groups. Because a lot of times
Mm.
people go in the gym to just do everything. And I'm like, well, you can do everything every day because your muscles need time to recover too. So you
Mhm.
need to have a plan. So I think I take the guesswork out of it and give them, okay, this is a plan that you can follow. Here's the instructions. Here's how you should eat. Here's a BMR calculator. A lot of times people don't even know what their BMR is. And,
No.
the doctors always talk about BMI, but it's such a if I go by my BMI, what the doctor's saying, I would be obese sitting here because I have so much muscle. And
Muscle.
if I step on the scale and tell my height, they think that I need to lose weight, but I really don't because it's
Mm,
just muscle. And
mm.
knowing your BMR and I just take the guesswork out of it, and because there's so much information and you wanna have a place to say, "Okay, let me try this, let me do this," just to have a beginning, where
Yeah.
do I start? Or you are somebody that has done the same thing over and over, and you just need something different, and you need to switch it up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that way. It's like I've been training my whole life, and yet sometimes I'm just like, well, what now? Like somebody tell me what to do because I just want something to follow. And it is nice to have that just a program to follow. And I like to obviously you do custom programming, but you also have these set ones. And I think you have one that's also because you work with a lot of people who are busy and travel a lot. So you have a program that works for when you're on the road or on the go as well, right? So even if you don't
Yes,
have like the traditional gym setting, you've
yes.
got here's some workouts you can do,
Yeah, I
right?
have it for I call it fitness for the busy lifestyle because, some people have only 10 minutes to work out. I always say 10 minutes a day, 7 days a week, that's 70 minutes. That you can do a lot. But or you're going into a hotel room and you have no equipment or, I make it so easy because you can do so much with your own body weight. You don't have to really be in the gym to work out. You can do it. But
Mhm.
what motivates you, obviously, and if you are lost and you don't know where to go, it's a great one to go to and say, "Oh, well, I know this will help me and this will be done in 10 minutes if I have or I don't have equipment." So there's a variety there for you to choose from and, take the guesswork out of what you should be doing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For any younger people listening, if you've got a loved one, a parent, a grandparent that you want to encourage, have them listen to this episode and look into your programs. You reminded me, I have a story. When I was in graduate school, I was a personal trainer. So I'm a dietitian now, but I had a lot of experience with fitness, and I did like group classes, and then I did personal training, and I worked at a Gold's Gym. And I somehow landed on a couple that wanted to work with me, but they didn't want to go to a gym. They were in their 70s. It was a husband and wife. So I started actually going to their home and training them in their home when they were in their 70s. And then this gentleman was a lawyer, and he started feeling real good about his workouts, and he started telling all his lawyer buddies. And all of a sudden, I had all these 60, 70-year-old lawyers sign up for my services. I was meeting at parks with them because they didn't wanna go to the gym, or they didn't have the time because they were quite busy. They were pretty
Mhm.
successful in their career. So I would meet at a park. I would go to one of their houses, and they would, a couple of them would drive together, and it was really cool because they had, maybe they were fit in their youth, but then they had they're lawyers, they're in front of a sitting at a desk all day, so many years. I had this one gentleman that, I think he was in the army in his youth, and I remember he started working with me, and he couldn't do a push up. And he was so embarrassed that he couldn't do a push up anymore because he remembered what he used to be able to do. And
Mhm.
after 6 months of working together, he was doing 10 push ups in a row. And he was just so happy. And what was great about it, though, was they were saying things like they're not as, their joints didn't hurt as much. They could get out of bed more easily. Hey, look, I can reach the spot on my back when I'm showering, and those are the things that's so important about training somebody as we age, that our activities of daily life, we're going to be able to do. We're going to find a source of empowerment and enjoyment, and pain might go away as well because
Mm.
that's part of aging that I'm already starting to experience. So it's only, you got to take care of yourself. You don't have joint pain as much in your 20s. You start feeling it in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. You got to take care of your nutrition, strengthen your muscles, move your body, and you're going to have so much more longevity.
Oh, I agree. And, I had injuries, like I had a second degree patella tear, I had a second degree MCL tear, and they were not from me working out. They were from somebody that fell on me or, it was a day to day. And with working out, I didn't stop working out. With working out, I recovered these. And I always say to
Mhm.
people when you already, like all the teenagers right now or the people that are going to college and work, don't stop working out. I
Mhm.
actually have a girl that I train over Zoom, and she's in college, and she
Mhm.
meets with me, and we do our workouts, and these are all she doesn't wanna go to the gym, she doesn't wanna so we do it in her room, and which we have a hip band and 2 dumbbells, and that's it, and we're working
And you
out.
can get it done. Mhm.
You can get it done, and I always say, because a lot of times we stop. So just because we're in college, we stop working out, we stop our routine, we partying more, and just to find the balance of still working out and
Mhm.
still eating healthy, but, and of course you wanna have fun and you wanna party with your friends and all of that, and that's great, but you just gotta find that balance and don't stop, and a lot of times
Mhm.
people stop, and then they come to me and said, "Oh, I used to be like that. I used to," and I was like, "Well, let's let's bring it back," Like you said, and you had those results with people, and the best best advertisement for you is results that people get, because I never
Mhm.
ever advertise. People find me, they through word of mouth and talking to you, for instance, right now, just
Yeah.
sharing what we our knowledge and but the success that our clients have bring other people to you, because that's there's no bigger message than results, right?
Mhm. Mhm. And what I'm also hearing from you is you're encouraging your collegiate client right now, keep this going, is that, to feel your best in your 50s, 60s, 70s means that you've built a lifelong foundation of health, that you've maintained some level of fitness, even if you're not, competing on stage anymore, but just that this is something that you are doing consistently throughout your week and throughout the years. And that's what's really gonna, but at the same time, it's never too late. So
It's
if you're
never too
50
late.
and you've never
Yeah.
exercised, you can start now.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I know I'll be mindful of your time, but maybe one last question to kind of tag onto that is there's a lot more discussion right now trying to support women going through menopause, that we don't just have to accept that we're going to feel terrible and not sleep and get these hot flashes and gain weight. We can actually do things to support our health during this time. And a little segue here. So if there's a woman who's never really exercised before and now she's going through menopause, it might not feel like the right time because she might feel tired and lethargic, but this actually might be the perfect time because this might be exactly what makes her feel better and get through this transition. Are there any tips that you found are, most helpful for a woman going through menopause and helping her take care of her health through this time?
Well, being a woman that went through menopause myself,
Mm.
working out is definitely going to help you with your menopause symptoms. And I think that it is a must when you're going through menopause. You never ever worked out to definitely do it while you're going through menopause. It is
Mhm.
uh, there's no medicine that will help you the way working out does.
Yeah. I think that's so great to hear because, again, I haven't been through it, but I would imagine it feels like you don't want to do it. And yet, if you do it, that's exactly what will help you manage these symptoms better.
Yeah, I mean, working out creates new cell generation, right? Autophagy happens not only when we do prolonged fasting, it also happens when we are lifting weights. So it's really,
Mhm.
really important in general to work out, but definitely through menopause and building muscle, because the body, with our hormones changing, I always call menopause the second puberty. All these
Mhm.
hormones have to
Yeah.
adjust and everything, and working out helps you to balance hormones.
Yes. Yes. Quick question, just through this menopause phase and working out with, you mentioned working out will reduce cortisol. Do you find the type of workout matters, like strength training, reduce cortisol, whereas like does long distance running maybe increase cortisol? I feel like there's a difference there.
Great question. Yeah. So I'm actually also certified in hormonal treatment when it comes to exercising, and they have found out that if you do a long distance run, which is most stressful to the body anyway, right? A long distance run is stressful to joints and for the cortisol levels for sure. So I always say do a 30-second jog and a 2-minute walk. 30-second walk and 2-minute walk. The 30-second jog will mobilize your fat storage, bring it into your bloodstream, and then it takes about 2 minutes to burn it off. And definitely when we're already going through menopause, your cortisol levels go crazy. You wanna not enhance the cortisol levels by doing a long distance running or things that will stress the body more. And cardio can stress the body immensely and raise your
Yeah.
cortisol levels.
Oh my goodness, fans, right as we were concluding the conversation, the internet just stopped working. So, Kirsten emailed me and let me know that this was a great conversation. I thought it was as well. The one thing I was trying to ask her, my final question for her was just to talking about women going through menopause and, that we should definitely do some strength training and maybe the cardio and long distance running isn't ideal for our menopause symptoms. However, the question I was going to ask her is what would you recommend to somebody who loves distance running or loves marathoning? And ultimately, our advice here is to diversify. So even if you do love long distance running, you're a woman going through marathon training, simply consider swapping out a few runs a week for the strength training, or do what some of the suggestions she was saying of where you do run but then you stop and you do some the strength movements in there because you're still getting the cardiovascular benefits while not stressing out the hormones that are experiencing those hormonal menopause symptoms. And so I think ultimately it's diversify and add in the strength training and consider scaling back. And it's quite interesting. I'm not the coach in this scenario, but it's quite interesting how so many women and runners, just frankly, as we actually diversify our workouts, you can find that you can scale back some of your mileage and still perform just as well because you're maybe working on speed or working on your strength, and that actually still helps you in your long distance running. So that was my final question for her that I'm sort of answering for you here. I apologize about that. So, fans, I really hope you enjoyed having Kirsten on this episode. And I apologize that she did not get to formally say goodbye herself, but it was a pleasure chatting with her. And thank you for listening. Thanks so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Please help spread the message of empowering female athletes to be fierce, fit, and fueled by giving this podcast a 5-star review and leaving a comment. You can also help more female athletes by sending this episode to a friend. Head to lindsaycortez.com for more resources, information, more episodes, ways to work together, downloadable guides, and ebooks. And if you're interested in becoming a guest on the show or have a guest suggestion, head to lindsaycortez.com/podcast, and there's a form for you to fill out to get on the show. Hey, there's more resources on my YouTube channel, Female Athlete Nutrition, Instagram at female.athlete.nutrition, and private Facebook group, Female Athlete Nutrition. I think you get the point. I'm here to support female athletes by fueling better and becoming fierce, fit, and fueled. Most importantly, if you need help, reach out. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next show.